I spent the last 2 years printing million new videos for me and my clients. The question I get asked more than ever is how are you so creative? And I actually have an answer for that. So if you're somebody who wants to become creative in any certain field or in general, then watch this video because I'm going to share a single trick that I've never really seen before or this whole process. I've never seen anybody show that online. So let's get into it. So the first thing that we need to cover is your mindset related to creativity. Now, creativity is something that people often misunderstand. They think people are born with creativity. But creativity is not something you're born with, it's a skill. And every skill you have to treat it like a muscle. So, like you can train your muscle to grow it, similarly, you can train your creativity to grow it. So, here is how you do it. First of all, forget about creativity being a born thing and let's go through the process. First part of the process of growing creativity is picking a lane. Now, what do I mean by a lane? Creativity is a lane based thing. So, for example, you can be creative in content creation, but you cannot be creative in drawing. You can be creative in drawing, you cannot be creative in, let's say, science. You cannot create science formulas. So, similarly, you can be creative in different fields and different lanes, not in everything. It's a lane based thing. So, for example, I can be creative in content creation, but I cannot be creative in drawing. Doesn't mean I'm not a creative person in general. So, first you have to understand which lane are you even playing in. Are you playing in content creation? Are you playing it in business? What is your lane? And once you have picked your lane, you have to find context. So the way you grow your creativity is by getting more context. You have to imagine as creativity as some sort of like box. Your brain can only think inside a certain box. You can never really think outside of the box. So what basically creativity is, and this is a visual representation of creativity, is you have these small boxes of context or small box of information that you have covered in day-to-day basis. This could be how you go to gym. This could be your information related to the reels you have watched. This could be the amount of YouTube videos you could watch. This is the hairstyles you know about. Now, in all these contexts that is there present in your mind, you can only think about stuff that is inside this box. For example, if you never knew dinosaurs exist or whatever those like say T-Rex existed, you will never be able to become creative enough to think about a T-Rex. Yes. But if let's say you knew something about, let's say, a T-Rex from a movie you watched 10 years ago, you can make a content piece where the T-Rex is involved. That's how you become creative. So the way you become more creative is by growing this box, gathering more context. Now, that's how you become more creative. You gather more boxes, gather more experiences, and you become more creative. I'll give you a very good example with this. So some of the viral pieces of content that I create, I have different kind of things to sell. Like there is a sales coach that I work with, and we did his first video that was sell me this chicken masala. Now, there are a lot of components playing in this video. There was the camera angle, there was the topic, there was this abrupt prop that we used, and then there was the objection that sell me this. So the way this worked out, the way this idea came to my head is because the topic, I have watched a reel of a person selling matcha. The topic was from a reel. The camera angle that I used was using my phone instead of a camera. That came to my head after I used to watch a lot of Nerf, like a lot of funny comedy videos where people used to zoom in on the face. So I did those camera angles with my phone. So it came from comedy reels that I watched a long time back. The prop chicken masala came to my mind because I saw chicken masala there. That was a context that I had. And the objection is from the objection that I gave was it was too expensive from my sales calls. I have seen done a lot of sales calls. So you see how many different things are playing in the picture. It's not just the idea I have about content creation. It's my life in general and content related context related to that that helped me become creative and come out with this idea. Similarly, if you now, let's say, to talk about you, if you want to become creative like this, you need to have a lot more context. And the way you do that is as follows. Coming to the third part of the process is context gathering. Now, the way you gather context is, remember, you have picked a lane. Let's say I'll give example of two lanes. Let's say one lane is gym, one lane is science, and let's say one lane is content, right? You have to gather more context. The way you gather content, the way you gather context for content creation is you watch more reels, you watch how other people became more creative, you watch more movies, you watch more editing styles, you gather more context, and then you create a unique combination. A new creative idea is not a new idea, it's basically you make a unique combination from the different context you have gathered over your years. Similarly, for let's say gym, you might have practice more different exercises and learn the science behind it. So you might know an exercise. Let's say an exercise is the leg curl, seated leg curl, and you have the idea that, let's say, you know science about it is used for growing your hamstring. Then you realize that using that same mechanics of a seated leg curl but doing with a cable is much better because you can control the angle. I'm just throwing idea here. Might be I'm saying complete bullshit, but see, you become creative because you have a different idea of things. You have more context. Similarly, let's say in the rule of science, you basically now with science that's a bit tough because I have no idea of science, but you can basically learn new state of matter. You can learn different. So all the science people like Newton and I don't know, Einstein, all they did was they tried out different variations from things they already knew and created new combinations. Like chemistry is a really good example. Like what is chemistry? It is creating combinations of different matter, or like what is it called? Elements. There is a set element. You cannot invent a new element. You can make different compounds from those elements. That is what creativity is. You get to know more about more compound elements, and then you combine those elements to create a new compound, hence becoming creative. I hope that makes sense. Creativity is basically a trainable muscle. You do it by context gathering, because when you combine different contexts and make a new idea, that is what people call being creative. Hope that helps. This was a pretty in-depth video. You might want to watch it again because a lot of people might not get it in the first time. But hope you enjoyed it. Hope you liked it. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.